Since it's now 5:45 and our chairwoman is not able to participate tonight, I'll open up the meeting. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may join the Zoom meeting via your computer, via audio, or both video and audio by copying and pasting the link on the Plympton Town website on the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website, town.plympton.mass.us. An audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. As always, the video recording is not to be considered an official transcript of the meeting. So the meeting is now open. And I believe we have Lisa and Bree, as well as Mark and Liz on. So we'll start with the town accountant. You want to do an introduction?
Okay. Me?
Liz, I didn't know if you.
Liz?
No, that's fine. Lisa's just on and she's going to give us a brief update about what's going on in her office.
Great.
Okay, so I just wanted to start. Last year, our free cash was certified on November 9th. This year, I'm hoping the first week in September to have all the balance sheet, the Schedule A, everything submitted the first week in September. So I'm hoping we'll get that number a lot earlier this year. Now, it all depends when DOR gets my paperwork, if they have a lot of questions or not, but it seems pretty clear and straightforward to me this year. One thing that I've started doing that wasn't being done before is grants that are federal grants, which is much more important now because we're getting so much more money from the federal government, have been broken out. When I started, I was told we didn't get any federal money. It was all state money, but that's not true. We definitely get federal money. Even the schools, some of their grants that they normally get are federal money. So I've broken those all out. I've been talking to people about those and getting that information set up. I think part of the reason that let me get this done as quickly as I did this year was that I'm making sure that all the reconciliations are done monthly, which before they weren't really done until the end of the year when you were trying to close the books. But this year, every month, everything balances exact where it's supposed to be. It's much easier when you have questions and something happens that month to ask the assessor or the treasurer what happened to this than it is to try at the end of the year to figure it all out. And I also made sure this year, and I'll keep working on this as long as I'm in the job, to have the procedures of what I'm doing in writing. So if somebody had to come into this job, there'd be a pretty good explanation of what needs to be done and how it should be done. That's pretty much what's been going on. What I've starting to do, and the other thing is that I'm going to start doing all my journal entries in Excel. Instead of them all being handwritten on green bar paper, they're going to be done in Excel. I think it'll be cleaner and neater, and you can copy and paste instead of having to try and remember to punch in your numbers the correct way all the time. I've started, I gave Liz a rough draft. I've just started working on financial policies for the town. They're pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to, it's good to have them done. It's really important to have them done. It helps with bond rating, and it's one of the things Grady's been on us for lots of times. But so that we'll hopefully get that done this year. I've also started a reconciliation of the police details. I'm doing it currently as of this year, but I am going to try and get balances as of the end of last year and try and see how far off we are and if money just needs to be written off at this point. I'm hoping that we're going to get a tax rate set in November instead of December. Or very beginning of December, not like Christmas Eve again. And that's about what's been going on.
Lisa, I have one or two things, but I guess we need to, maybe I should just sit with you and talk a little bit. I think the idea that you're reconciling every month is great. I mean, that's what should be done, and the fact that it's now being done is important. And I assume that will show up in the auditor's report when they give us next year's management report.
Yeah, Christina and I have really been working hard at looking at the things that Grady puts in every year and trying to address some of those.
I think that's exactly the right thing to be doing. So I'm very supportive of that.
Mhm.
The federal grants, when you say you're splitting those out, does that mean you're putting them into a separate account? I wasn't clear on what
Well,
that means.
when we do our balance sheet, you have to report to the state the grant money you receive. And like when I did it last year with Barbara, I said, okay, what about federal grants? She goes, there's no federal grants, everything's state. So we report everything as a state grant.
Ah, I see.
Federal grants, if you happen to receive over $750,000 in 1 year, they have to do what's called a single audit, and your auditor has to come in and just audit those grants completely. What exactly was spent out of them, when you got the money, when it was spent. Luckily, we might have hit that in 2022, except our second batch of ARPA money didn't come till 2023. So I think we were going to be under the 750 last year, and probably won't hit that again because, you know, federal funds aren't coming the way they were a couple of years ago,
Sure.
a year ago. So yeah, so now they're broken out and reported to the state as federal and state grants separately.
Good. Mark, did you have any comments?
I do. One, Lisa, congratulations. Your report sounds really forward-looking and a lot of kind of proactive steps, which is great, particularly the better documentation. One question is probably a big subject, but just kind of briefly touched on. I think we've heard along the way in terms of the basic software that we're using that that maybe there's a better software at some point down the road. And I think we've also heard, no, this software is pretty good and there are features we just haven't taken advantage of yet. Can you give us just a brief feel of where we're at with that?
Sure. I know when I was first hired and I was told, you know, it's a DOS system you're going to be working on, I'm like, what? How old is this software we're using? But I do have to say, once I've started using it, there are some really strong benefits to what we're using because we're a town the size we are. I don't think we need to like get a Munis account because that's a lot of money and I think we're too small for it. Danny is very attentive to us. I mean, I call and ask him how to do something or to get me a different kind of report or anything, and he just does it for us. That's not going to happen with any other software company. You know, you have to put in requests, work orders, and then you have to wait, and they'll get back to you when they can. I mean, we had a problem with something that just yesterday Christine called Danny about, and he's like, okay, I'll get you that stuff tomorrow. So I know that Grady doesn't like the system, but I really think it wasn't being used to its potential in the previous years. Some things we've changed. Our cash used to all go into one revolving cash account for each department at the end of the year, like grants and revolving funds and things. Everything had to be moved from that cash account to the right account. I called Danny. I said, why is it done like this? And he said, because that's how it was set up. I said, does it have to be? He goes, no, would you like us to fix that? I said, yes, I would. And now that's done correct. And that like takes a big step out of the closing the books each year. I have found it to be much better than I thought I was going to find it. So, I mean, doesn't hurt to look at something new, you know, to get ideas, but a lot of it depends on the pricing and, you know, and the reviews. I'd say you'd want to definitely talk to a few towns that use them, because I have to say for most of the meetings I've gone to, accountings meetings, most people aren't happy with their software.
Are there, I know there are very sophisticated reporting programs now to share all the financial information with towns. Are there aspects to the present system in terms of reporting, pie charts and graphs that simplify things for town folks? Are there stuff like that available, or would that require new software?
Probably not pie charts and graphs with DOS software. Okay. I mean, something I could ask Danny about, but
yeah, actually, when Barbara was here towards the end, I had a conversation with Danny and about just what Mark was asking. You can put a front end on some of the systems. And Danny said that he didn't particularly want to do it, but that he thought it would probably make a good next step. And I think now, Lisa, that you've been in this position and you're getting the books closed and you sort of know how things are being done. It may be a conversation we want to have this year once we're further along, and maybe get Danny in. He was not against putting a front end on his system. And again, it would be, how much money is that? But that would be a cheaper way of doing it rather than changing the whole system off.
And we don't need to add complexity or expense or vast outlays of people's time and energy. But I do know the towns that have gotten into the more sophisticated presentation to the general public, good things have come out of that, and people much better understanding where their tax dollars are going and
I
how
agree with Mark.
efficiently.
I agree with you, Mark.
Yes.
I think
I actually agree with you
next step.
also. Yep, I think we are right. I think we need to definitely start working on that. And some of the classes that I took last year, which I'll continue to do this year, take classes and keep myself up to date, really talked about that and showed some of like the budget. A budget isn't usually just an Excel spreadsheet that has the numbers on it. It's like whole department and recommendations, and
exactly.
It can be done much more comprehensively.
Lisa, what could we do for you? Is there anything we could do that would help you make your job quicker, easier, etc.?
I'm really good right now. Everything's been going well. Christine and I work really well together. Every month it gets a little bit easier. We still find things once in a while, but we're getting most of our things cleaned up and straightened out, and I'm good. I'll let you know if something comes up.
Okay.
Well, we have those words are all recorded
right
now.
Yeah. Even though it's not a valid official transcript.
Yeah, no, things are going well right now.
Well, Lisa, thank you very much for coming on, and this sounds good. Sounds like we're on the right road.
Excellent.
Well done.
Liz, you have any?
Okay.
No, thank you, Lisa.
You guys are very welcome, and I'll see you all soon.
Great.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, next on our agenda is a two one-day liquor license request for a large event permit by Full Circle Homes for Mayflower Market Days to be held at 41 and 0 Crescent Street, which is just down the street from me, so it should be a good time. That's the former Kierstead land on both sides of the street.
Yes, and it's for an artisan fair, and they've already received tentative approval for the large event permit. Board of Health is just gonna take a formal vote at their next meeting. But they've already gone through the different boards and departments.
So before we take a vote, Mark, do you have any comments?
No comments. No.
Okay. So I would make a motion that we approve this 2-day liquor license request for Full Circle Homes for Mayflower Market Days to be held at 41 and 0 Crescent Street.
So could we add just to the motion pending other approvals from other
departments?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, that makes sense. So moved. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes.
Okay.
Next on our agenda is policy authorized reimbursement and gratuities.
So this was something that Lisa and I were discussing recently. In the event that a town employee were at a town-related event, say a workshop or something directly related to the job, and it would have to be something in a situation in which they were eligible to have the cost of their meal reimbursed. We realized that we have no cap on the gratuity piece. And it sounds small, but it's something that we both Lisa and I felt strongly should be defined. So I think by way of a policy, we would say if it was a reimbursable meal, that the town would cover a 20% gratuity. And if somebody wants to leave more than that, they're welcome to, but that additional percentage would not be reimbursable. Because some people, take a different tack when they
Sure.
know that it's reimbursable versus not.
Yeah, I would just change it up to 20%, and I agree with you.
Okay, perfect.
You okay, Mark?
Very good.
Do you need a motion on that, Liz?
If you know what, it's probably good if you do take a vote where it was on the agenda, and that way it gives us something solid that we can go back to the employees and let them know that this is the new policy.
So do you want to word it so I can say so moved?
Sure. For eligible reimbursement of meal costs, reimbursement for gratuity is limited to a percentage up to and including 20%.
Well, Mark.
Or so moved.
So
I
moved.
guess. All right, you got so moved, I'm seconding.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes. Good. Announcement of the Green Communities Competitive Grant Award.
Yes, so good news. We have received a grant award in the amount of $84,562 from the state's Green Communities Grant Program. And I can give you the specific breakdown. Let me pull it up here. So this is $50,875 is for the fire station, the main bulk of which will be funding an air source heat pump. And then $26,000 for the library, similar project, but slightly different scale. This is an air source heat pump. And then there's a little over $7,000 remaining that will be used for technical assistance from Old Colony Planning Council. And will also cover us administratively if we expend additional time and resources on the grant. So it's a very solid award. And they did have a meeting earlier today with our vendor that we've been dealing with, and which is Energy Source. They were the ones who came out and evaluated the buildings, and also a meeting with state officials and then representatives from the utility companies to see about the applicable rebates and everything. So once we get a final notice to proceed, as in years past, we'll work with our vendor and also with the fire chief and the library director, just to have a kickoff meeting and make sure that everyone's on the same page about what's
Great.
happening at each building. So
Great.
more to come on this, but definitely good news.
How was this put together? Did the departments come to you or did you initiate this?
No, it's something I initiated. We've been trying to stay up to date with the Green Communities Program.
Mhm.
And the last funding cycle, we were actually finishing up projects from the cycle prior to that.
Right.
So we wanted to get back into the stream, so to speak,
Sure.
and be able to move forward with more projects. That said, I was talking with our vendor and with Old Colony Planning Council, and we all think it would make sense to have all of our buildings reevaluated, maybe at some point in early 2023. Just a lot has changed since they had first come out and did the evaluation, and that way we can make sure that the projects that we're applying for, that we're getting the ones that are the most impactful for us, and that they're basing our applications on up-to-date information.
Okay, that sounds good. Kudos to you all for doing this.
Thank you.
Kudos, well done.
We have some appointments next. So I'll just read these down and then we can vote them as one block.
That's fine.
Okay. So Robert Hathaway, labor, full-time, highway department until June 30th, 2023. Jason Bishop, part-time police officer until June 30th, 2023. Angelo Boccalini and Mark Riley, Recreation Committee until June 30th, 2025. And Paul D. Angelo D'Angelo Jr., Community Preservation Committee until June 30th, 2023. So I would make a motion that we approve these appointment as read.
Second,
Any discussion? I'm fine.
appreciate the volunteers stepping forward.
Yes, always great. So I would make a motion, I guess I made a motion that we approve this as read.
Let's vote.
Second?
Second, yeah,
Okay. All in favor, Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes. Okay, Bree, you want to do the warrants paid?
It's $36,411.40.
36, is that what you said?
Yes, $36,411.40.
Any big one in there we should know about?
No, nothing
Oh,
too
okay,
spectacular, just the normal.
okay.
Yes.
Town administrator updates, Liz?
So work has officially started on the townhouse roof project. So far, so good. They were out on site at the end of last week. We have communicated the dates to them that the town clerk's office is open, like business hours that were not normally open, say for early voting and things like that. And we reiterated that to them again today. So hopefully things go smoothly, even on some of the Fridays and Saturdays that they're open for business. Because I know that they wanted to get some of the work done when the building wasn't operating for its normal hours. So that's happening. I'm working with Town Properties Committee to pursue the roof at the old townhouse. And we're going to get somebody out there ASAP to take a look at things and see what we might need to do as far as any leaks are concerned. Also, I spoke with the Town Properties Committee Chair, and it sounds like for our next meeting on September 12th, we might be coming with a contract for context or an amendment to their initial contract. So it sounds like, and John would be able to speak to this as well, but it sounds like they're working right now with the designer for the fire station feasibility project and getting that contract amendment put together for those services. So that's on track right now. And I'm also working with the police chief and with Lieutenant Hoffman. We'd like to put together an evening where family members could come in and pin badges on some of our recent hires within the police department, because COVID kind of put a damper on some of that. Right now, we're looking at potentially Monday, October 3rd. We were thinking that Monday evening, the building would be open for business. And we had that date when I had last spoke with Christine as a tentative meeting date, but we weren't sure because we're meeting immediately the week prior to that. It was one of those where the weeks got a little funny with a Monday holiday in there. So we thought that it might be a good opportunity to get everybody together, bring the family, can maybe be involved in some sort of an announcement of sorts, and they can have that kind of ceremonial moment of pinning the badges on.
I think that's great. I think that's important. I think not only for the police, but also just for the town.
I think so too. And they would be obviously open to the public, and we could coordinate with the newspaper and, so more to come on that. It's still in its very early stages, but right now that's kind of what we were thinking and talking about. So I wanted to mention that this evening.
Good.
And as far as correspondence, we don't have anything readily. Our next meeting on the 12th, we have a few different items already slated for that agenda. And we also have a public hearing that evening for some new transmission lines that are going in. So the notice was properly given for that, but that'll be coming up. You'll see that on the next agenda.
Okay. Yeah, as far as the old townhouse roof, I did circulate a note that came to me from a resident that said that there was a problem. And I think the town property committee had a meeting this past week and they've jumped on it. So we'll hopefully have some sort of a fix very shortly. Anything else before we go to minutes?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Bree, you want to do minutes? I think we only have August 8th open.
I had
That's
no,
correct.
no edits.
I didn't find any either. So I would make a motion that we approve the minutes as written for August 8th.
Second,
Roll call vote. Mr. Russo,
yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes. I think we're up to date on executive minutes. I think we did that last time, right?
Well, we have two from the last meeting, or two segments from the last meeting. I think we do that at the next executive session.
Okay, great. Then we're on to Board of Selectmen's raves. I guess I'll give a rave for the progress that we're making in the financials with the town accountant and the treasurer. It's just so refreshing to see that we're getting things under control in a timely manner. And I know, Liz, that you've had a meeting of the financial team with our auditor, and I think that's exactly the right thing to be doing. So I'm very pleased. I hope we can continue the progress.
Yeah, and I use the word refreshing, John, and I think that's a good word, and reassuring, and really a treat that things are progressing so nicely there. Along the same lines, I think my rave tonight is the relative sanity and stability of Plympton town government, and all the more as compared to some of the other towns that are really suffering through some hard times. So really appreciative. This isn't the easiest work in the world, that we all get a little beat up and worn out, but boy, in comparison, we have it pretty good, and I really appreciate that.
I think that's correct. I just as a adjunct, I did reach out to our sister town after the resignations they had, and said that we would support them in any way we can, whether it's at the selectman level or town administrator or town accountant, town treasurer. So we'll see what we can do. Okay, I think we are done. So
Well done, Chris. Quick meeting. Well done.
Hey, it's the pay. So I'll make a motion that we closed tonight's meeting.
Second.
So moved and all done. I don't think we have to do a roll call, do we, when we close?
Do it for fun.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer, yes.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you, everybody.